So guys, here we go. Today we're back on Lili the Volvo 240. This is going to be the start of, well, what I hope won't be a long series of videos on getting the car ready for the German inspection, the TÜV. It actually expires end of next month, end of May, and we're getting towards, we're about mid-April now or so. So yeah, we know we're going to keep this car and we know we're going to get it through. So in any case, we'll do as much as we can see is wrong with it. Also, in Germany, it's a very good idea to make your car as nice as possible before you do take it for the test. I mean, it's a good idea in any country, I'm sure, but especially in Germany, because it seems to be the case here. If they can find one or two issues with the car, or they think it's generally not well cared for, they will then just go to town on it and they'll just end up failing everything, and you'll end up with a 3-page long list. But if you take it in and it looks cared for and you've made the effort, then it's much more likely to get through. That's what we're going to do. And of course, anything that they do find wrong with the car once we've done our initial list, which I hope isn't much, because, you know, I should know what to look out for at this point, but you never know. There's always things that you can miss. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if they come up with their own list, which I'm sure they will. And then obviously we've got to fix those things as well. So like I say, hopefully not a lot of stuff, but you know, you never know, do you? So we'll make a start today. Probably actually the most important thing, especially for this country and especially for Bavaria, oil leaks. Oil getting on the ground is a big deal here. It's a big problem. So we've got some oil leaks on our 35-year-old car, unsurprisingly. Nothing major, but it is leaking. There is oil on the ground wherever she goes, just a few drops, but it's definitely enough. If there's any oil anywhere at all, even just a seepage, they can fail you here on the inspection. So like in the UK, for example, as long as it's not dripping, you're okay. Here, if the surface is oily, it will fail. So, or it can fail. It depends on who you get, doesn't it? So yeah, in that case, obviously you can just clean it up before you take it for the test. But Lili is actually dropping. She's leaving a few drops, so we definitely need to jump on it. In any case, inspection or not, because I'm going to get into trouble. I can tell you a quick story about someone I know whose car was leaking a little bit of oil. So a place where I used to work, my boss, basically, her boyfriend was out in his car. It was in Berlin, and he was parked up somewhere, and they had, I think it was a Mercedes, and it leaked a bit of oil. They didn't realise that it did, so it obviously couldn't have been that bad. It wasn't gushing all over the floor, but it was probably leaving a few drops. The police noticed it, noticed that where this guy had parked, he'd left a couple of drops of oil. I don't know how bad it was, but in any case, the police spotted it. They stopped him. They actually, you won't believe this, so where you've got your license plate here, when you actually deregister a car, take it off the road, you need to scratch off this sticker. It needs to be like scratched away, and there's actually a code behind it that you can use to deregister the car. And obviously once this is scratched off, this sticker, the plate's not valid. So when you actually get your license plate made up, when you actually get your car on the road, anywhere can print this. There'll be any number of independent businesses that will print you a license plate, but it's not actually a valid legal license plate until it's got the stamp from the German authority. This is just to show you when the inspection expires, and as expires end of May. So yeah, we've got a lot of work coming up over the next few weeks on this car. But anyway, this makes the license plate valid, and it's the same on the front plate as well. This one here. So the police actually scratched those stamps off this guy's number plate so that he couldn't drive it on the road anymore, and then he had to get it towed to a garage to get it fixed, and then once fixed had to go through all the inspection process again, and specifically to check that it wasn't leaking any oil. Once that's done, he could then go through the registration process and register his car from scratch. So he'd have to get new license plates done, a stamp, papers, all that stuff, go to the appointments, do all the stuff. It's not just a quick online thing, like you have to go to the office, make an appointment, wait, and you can wait a couple of weeks in Berlin. Go there, do all the stuff, yeah, huge bureaucratic headache. But all because he left a couple of drops of oil on the ground. I don't know if he did something else to upset the police as well. Maybe he was parking like a douchebag or something. It must have been, I would say, because usually the police have got more important things to do in Berlin. Yeah, anyway, we are losing oil from the 240, so have a closer look now and see exactly where it's coming from, or try and see where it's coming from, and we'll go from there. So, as I'm going to the back of the car, a lot of you already know exactly what the situation's going to be. So you might remember I had diff issues and changed the oil because there was a noise and found there was hardly any oil in there, and yeah, that was another video. So I actually made a gasket out of an Amazon packet. It did actually work, and but a few of you did say that's not going to last, that will start leaking. Good thing about gear oil is it's nice and thick, so less chance of a leak. I'm pretty sure it's coming from here. I'm not 100% sure, but it's pretty moist, isn't it? After I did clean it up, it's moist again. I mean, it is leaking oil in any case, even if it's not our main issue. So I'm just going to replace this gasket anyway, because it can't hurt. We've probably got a bit of a leak from the filler cap seal, normal stuff. I will change that at some point, but they always leak. We don't have excess crankcase pressure because I checked that with a glove test quite recently. But if we go underneath the car, the other side will be better. So we can see we've got oil. Yeah, I mean, at first I was worried that it was maybe the crank seal that I just recently replaced, but it's not, is it? I don't think it is, because it's, yeah, see, it's over here, look. Yeah, so it's, I mean, it's definitely not the crank seal because there's oil there. You can see it, so it's coming from higher up. So I'm going to say it's the valve cover. But yeah, I mean, best thing to do is clean it up thoroughly, run it, and then see where it's leaking from. But what I'll do today is I'll clean it up, but I'll just replace the rocker cover gasket anyway. So of course, it's a nice easy one to do. 10mm nuts all the way around. I might actually check the valve clearances whilst we're here. I did it not so long ago, but do it again whilst the cover's off. Yeah, it's always nice to look into your engine as well, isn't it? And just to see how things are looking. Into the top of your engine at least. So yeah, I mean, you can see it there, look. You can see the oil where it definitely shouldn't be. So we've got a 24mm socket. I think that's what it is anyway. Chuck that onto the crank pulley. Yeah. And then we can turn our engine over. It's in gear. Just trying to run over my foot. So now it's not in gear. I can turn it over. So we've got a 0.4 here. Let's try that. Not interested. This is 0.3. We don't really want it to be any. We hope that this is it. Yeah. Good. It's on the minimum. It's about a 0.3. So as they wear, they can go tighter, the clearances. So it's not as though you're going to hear it sound really chattery on the valve train and think, oh, my valve clearances are too loose because they're worn and I need to tighten things up, or in this case, increase the shim size. It actually goes the other way, it goes tighter, the gap gets smaller and smaller. I think the main reason is the valves they wear into the seat over time. But yeah, it gets a bit annoying to fight the compression as well. That's number 4. A little bit colourful. Yeah, it's quite good to check the plugs every now and then. Just tells you, it gives you the story of the engine, doesn't it? Tells you how things are going. Yeah, they look good. She's definitely not rich, that's for sure. She's very, very good on fuel, like 35 UK MPG on a highway run, so she's pretty good. But also I think maybe slightly advanced as well with the timing. There's a little bit of ping every now and then, so I think I just need to tweak the timing over, just retard it just slightly. Because so that's number 2, and you can see it's a little bit glazed, which isn't a good sign, is it? I think that indicates a lean, doesn't it? A bit too white. So maybe just slightly lean perhaps, or maybe it's because it's too advanced, which does cause it to run on the lean side anyway, doesn't it? I'll probably just tweak the distributor over slightly because I set it up by eye, didn't I? I just sort of eyeballed it and never used the timing light, so it's definitely, it was way too advanced before. Now it's mostly okay, but I just get that bit of ping every now and then, and you shouldn't really, of course, get any. .38. Yeah, 0.33. So yeah, they're all good, just this one, 0.30, right on the minimum. It's quite tight at the front, it's always been like that, but it's still acceptable, so we can run with it. I think that's quite normal as well, isn't it? The front one to be tighter. I think I've seen that before on these. So yeah, anyway, all looks good, doesn't it? Clean enough inside, nothing really to worry about. So yeah, we'll get everything cleaned back up, get the new gasket on, get the plugs back in, get the cover on, and yeah, we'll see how she does. It's funny, on the website there's actually a note that says it will appear bigger until you actually install it, and then it fits in how it should. I mean, I'm going to admit, even I've done it before. First thought, oh, it's the wrong one. But no, of course, it's until it actually goes over these caps on the end, it's going to be too big. But you definitely see how someone could look at it and go, well, that's obviously not going to fit. But Scandix themselves have obviously had calls about it, so much so that they actually need to write on the website, like, to be honest, even when you first put it on, it still feels too big. Just seems like there's way too much on there, but it does fit. Doesn't feel right, but it is. bell ringing every 15 minutes, it makes me feel like I'm on a timer. One thing I noticed as well, coolant here and on the hose here and on the side of the bottle somewhere. You can see deposits here. So at some point it's boiled over, or like tried to. It's fired a bit of coolant out. Still pressure in it. After 3 or 4 days of sitting here, still a bit of pressure. Shouldn't be any pressure in it really, because it's been sat here. It's Tuesday now. I'm sure it's been parked here like this since before the weekend. I can't remember what day. Don't know how many days it's been. I'll find out. I'll have a think about it. Last miss Involvo'd, but pressure in the cooling system and residue from coolant. So straight away to me that says the very beginning of head gasket, which I was wondering when it would be on this car and on the 740, and it seems like it could be now, or at least soon. So that's a shame. If it is the case, I don't really want to be doing another head gasket at the moment. Can't smell any petrol at all, so if it's gone, it's only slightly. To be honest, you can drive these for a bit with a blown head gasket as well, because they don't tend to overheat, and the cooling systems, they don't tend to pressurize too much because they're quite low pressure anyway. Like, you can run these with the cap off for most of the time. They don't boil over. So yeah, hence why even when the head gasket's gone, that extra pressure doesn't normally cause them much issues. So as long as you don't let the coolant go too low, they obviously will drink a little bit, but you just top it up. They'll hold temp. You can keep driving them. The cooling system doesn't get overloaded. So not for, at least for a while anyway. It does take a long time. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on it.